Singer, songwriter, musician, painter, poet, blogger, yogi and collaborator, Steve Kilbey, welcome to Triple R Airwaves.
Oh, thank you very much, Stephen.
Quite an introduction there. There's a few hats that you do wear.
Yes.
And, well, you've been pretty musically faithful to the church, 30 albums worth over the years, but in more recent times you've been musically promiscuous with, Glenn Benny and Martin Kennedy and now Ricky Mamie. How do these sort of connections come about? Is it from you get an itch to do something with someone, they approach you, or how does it work?
I usually, when I come across people I like, I kind of usually mention that I like them and then sort of leave it open that our collaboration could be on the cards. And, you just sort of drift together, and these days it's so easy, to sort of approach somebody and sort of offer them a collaboration or send them a piece of music. It's not like the old days when it was really hard. It'd be impossible to contact somebody, but these days you can sort of, in one fell swoop, they can be listening to the demo tape of what you want them to hear, So it's pretty easy these days to get together, and, there's some really good people out there kind of writing good music that I'd like to sing to, the kind of music I wouldn't necessarily write on my own.
But the church has been an incredibly sort of enduring band, not only here, but in America. As a matter of fact, I think you just got back from a tour in America doing your last 3 albums live, and you do seem to have an ongoing kind of relationship with the audiences in that country. It must be very advantageous for you.
Yeah, it's always good to have America. I mean, as we're not playing in mega domes and stadiums. We're only kind of doing clubs and theatres. But it's been good, and it's sort of ramped up a bit on the last. Our curve sort of going back up again, which is really improbable after all these years. You kind of get this kind of thing where people think you're kind of a vintage sort of thing. So we sort of have a bit of an upswing in our audiences just in the last 2 or 3 years, more and more people coming. So it's kind of healthy. And
the band seems quite adaptive. I mean, you've done acoustic tours, you've done the 3 albums here, you've done things with orchestra. Yeah. How do these ideas come up? Is that you, other members of the band, or is that management that says, hey, Steve, we got this great idea, do you want to do it? How does it work?
It's usually not me. I'm usually the most traditional one. I sort of don't think anything's going to work. And I thought the 3 album idea was going to be a real absolute stinker. And I was kicking and fighting and trying to lead a revolution against that right up until the last moment. And then we walked off stage and it was triumphant in LA in the first gig and got 3 encores and all that. And I was kind of like, well, that was a good idea I had. So no, usually other people in the band kind of have dreamt them up, and I can't really take any credit for that. I'm sort of more of the minister for esoteric affairs. I kind of dream up sort of more abstract things, and other people dream up more practical things, and I'm just sort of, when it comes to those other things, I'm just a sheep, really. I just go along with whatever the sort of the flock decides to do.
And, of course, the band is scattered across the globe at the moment, although you've been remarkably faithful to Sydney as your home, in Bondi in particular.
Yeah, it just feels right for me. I don't know, it's just, I like the weather, and I don't know, just sort of feel at home there, and it's conducive to writing, and there's a constant flow of people. A lot of people I know who live in Bondi, and Bondi's really amped up as a kind of a tourist centre in the last 10 years. A lot of people who live there don't like it and grumbling, but I really like it in the middle of summer to go down the boulevards and go on the beach and sort of in the cafes and see this incredible flux of people all speaking kind of Swedish and German and Italian, and all the Brazilians and the Irish backpackers and all the English. It's just incredible seeing them come through and kind of living in that kind of holiday area, and all the feelings that come with that. It brings back so many childhood memories of, going to sort of some transient place in the middle of summer and just being someone passing through. And no, I think it's a constant good source for songwriting material.
And also an inspiration for a late life interest, I guess, about 6 or 7 years, which is painting.
Yeah, no, I just fell into that accidentally, and then sort of, I don't know, it just became something. But I'm not an amazing painter. I never will be. I don't have enough time to catch up started 30 years ago, but I've just sort of fell into it, and I just do a bit of dabbling with that, you know. I've sort of been good at dabbling, so now I'm dabbling with good things instead of dabbling with bad things.
Well, also, more than dabble, I mean, you're virtually a daily blogger and have been, as far as I can see, for the last couple of years, although you've just sort of stopped your blog site, you've moved that across to your own site.
Yeah.
But so how did this come about? I mean, the idea of communicating so much, like every day virtually, something about your particular psyche or whatever.
Yeah. You know what? Once again, I was a naysayer, and my brother is a lecturer at some TAFE somewhere, and he was lecturing in blogs and podcasting, believe it or not. And one day he kept saying to me, "You should have a blog," and I was going, yeah. And one day, and I was just going, yeah, whatever. I don't even know what that is. I hate that word. I used to say, I hate that word blog, and I hate that word podcast, so don't even say them to me. And then one day I opened up my emails, and he said, hit this link, and I hit the link, and suddenly my blog, there it was all set up, and all I had to do was write the first line. So I wrote some tentative kind of thing and posted it, and then wow, the instant feedback of people writing comments about what I'd just written. And then after about 3 weeks after just writing some very mundane stuff, one day I just kind of let my imagination go a bit, and I wrote something a bit more kind of interesting, and people really responded. And then I was off and away, and I sort of have allowed it to kind of run all over the place, from kind of absolute kind of probably too much true information to kind of complete utter bullshit of stuff that I've made up and people think is absolutely true, and they probably think the true stuff is absolutely bullshit, but you know, life is like that. And so I've completely blurred the line, and anybody I meet or anybody I do anything with is all, you know, if you and I were having a drink one night in a bar and you were saying this or that to me, you know, the next day it could be in there. So, you know, I was with the ghost and he said this and that, and suddenly, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that public-private kind of nexus.
Yeah, I don't know where that ends anymore. I'm kind of, you know, whatever I'm doing, I'm sort of, I'm looking at it like, you know.
Well, you're exposed.
Yeah. I'm exposed, and everybody I'm doing it with is too.
Indeed.
My kids and everybody.
Speaking of the website, of course, it says on there that for a mere $1,000, you can have a song written for you, tailor-made by Steve Kilbey and Martin Kennedy.
I'm working on that right now. That's what I'm doing here in Melbourne right now, apart from playing tonight. I am around at Martin Kennedy's, and we are working on these songs, and it's working out just as I thought.
So people have responded?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, we're up to about 12, 13 people. Yeah,
wow.
They have, and we're doing it right now, and the first two songs are turning out excellently. They're exactly what the people wanted, but we're actually providing integrity, like a really beautiful song, and kind of, I don't know, putting out the weight of what we can do behind it, not just knocking out any old stupid thing.
So people can just apply via the website and wait a few weeks, and lo and behold, there will be their song.
There will be. You can get a song, you can specify. You know, you should listen to Kilbey Kennedy record first and see what we do, and then within the parameters of that, if you have a song about, like we've just done, the first song was a guy wanted a song about sort of giving people some spiritual hope, and I knew he was a kind of a Gnostic, so I put through some stuff in there I knew he'd like. And then the second one was from a German guy who lost his mother-in-law, and was saying how every Sunday when the extended family sits down, there's just this great big gap where this lady was. So right now I'm just working on putting that into a song, but it's kind of, now that's kind of hard, but that's what a good songwriter should be able to do. It's like Florence in the 15th century, you know, when they hired Botticelli.
Yeah, like being an artisan.
Yeah, it's like do this, and that's what you do. Exactly, being an artisan, exactly, and that's what Martin and I are doing, is like using our kind of songwriting nous to kind of produce a beautiful song, so someone's got a CD, and next time the family will sit down in Germany, this son-in-law, it's not even his mother, it's his mother-in-law, so she must be a heck of a lady. When their family will sit down and they're missing it, he can put this song on and go, listen
What
to
a
this.
gift.
Yeah.
Great idea. We're talking to Steve Kilbey on the radio, and he is going to be in the Cherry Bar tonight performing with Ricky Mamie.
Yeah.
The works of a rather sort of shadowy figure, David Neal. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about David, and because I'm sure not many people are all that aware of his body of work.
No, they're not actually. David Neal was a Canadian singer-songwriter who died in 1974. And he had a very controversial death when he was, the plane he was on crashed. He was taking an overdose in the bathroom at the same time. A jealous husband had kicked down the door and shot him. And because the husband lived, the plane crash, survived the plane crash, it was very important for his defence. And the coroners went to a lot of trouble, and there was a lot of arguing and toing froing when this husband shot David, he was actually already, the plane had crashed, or if he'd already died from the overdose. You know what I mean? Trying to get the sequence of events. But it was a very fitting death for David Neal, and strangely enough, although he died in December 1974, when Ricky and I were curating through his tapes, we found some vocals mysteriously recorded in February of 1975, which makes you just really wonder what was going on.
Curious. And so what you've done is you and Ricky have adapted these and finished off these sort of partially unfinished works that are the legacy of David.
Yes. Well, you see what happened. David was briefly going to the ANU back in the early 70s. He was dating my sister Kathy, and I was buying some sort of happy high herbs off him at the time that I don't know where he was getting them, and he found out I was a bass player, and I was only 20. He was like 23 or 24, and he was going to do this tour of America, and my sister was going over there, and I went over there too, and David to play bass on this one only tour he did of America, and David turned out to be a real gigolo, kind of drug-taking, sleazy kind of type, and sort of broke my sister's heart, and was having an affair with all these Hollywood wives and these New York wives, and he was pawning guitars and sort of going to record companies and promising them things, and just being a real ratbag.
Sounds like the sort of fantasy life a lot of us would like to have led.
I believe so. I believe he could have also been a KGB operative.
So if people are intrigued by this idea, tonight, not only with Ricky, you've got a couple of members of the Triffids playing as well.
They're opening for us. They're not actually playing.
I see.
But having said that, we will have Graham Lee, who's another member of the Triffids, playing some pedal steel with us, who played on this David Neal record, The Wilderness Years.
Evil Graham Lee.
He is evil, and David's spirit makes people evil. He was an evil guy, and from the grave, he's still a very mischievous poltergeist type of person.
And so people can see this tonight at the Cherry Bar for a one-off performance.
You see, I believe the Ding Dong burnt down, and
it's been moved to the Cherry.
It's been moved to the Cherry. So from the Ding Dong to the Cherry, which there you go, and
life will be a bowl of.
I feel David's hand in this place burning down and then moved to the Cherry Bar. I just feel his hand in all of this.
Mysterious.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Steve, for speaking to us, and look forward to the performance tonight. And by the way, what's next? Church stuff, more collaborating, more individual records. What's on the schedule?
Yeah, the church are going to get together and finish off a record, and at Christmas time we're going to do that we're going to do Starfish, Priest Equals Aura, and Untitled 23. We're going to do those 3 albums back to back in order, and so we're going to do that in the cities. And next year, I believe that a play I was in with John Paul Young, a play called Van Park, is coming down and doing a month in Melbourne in March. And I'm really looking forward to that. I think people in Melbourne will really think it's a funny play.
Excellent. Well, good luck for tonight and all things
Thanks, Matt.
creative. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Okay.